In September of 1664, Governor Peter Stuyvesant stood inside Fort Amsterdam and refused to surrender. English warships lay anchored in the harbour. Their cannons were trained on the town. Their commander had delivered a letter demanding submission in the name of the Duke of York. Stuyvesant tore the letter apart. He wanted resistance. But the merchants of New Amsterdam did not. Within days, the Dutch colony of New Netherland would pass into English hands without a battle. To many, Stuyvesant became the governor who lost New Amsterdam. But the story of Peter Stuyvesant is far more complex than that single moment of surrender. He was a soldier, an administrator, a devout Calvinist, a corporate governor, and a man who believed deeply in order. To understand how New Amsterdam fell, we first have to understand the man who ruled it. Peter Stuyvesant was born in 1612 in the Dutch Republic, likely in Friesland, into a Reformed Protestant family. His father was a minister. Discipline and faith were central to his upbringing. The Dutch Republic, in which he came of age, was not a minor European state. It was a maritime power. Dutch merchants dominated global trade networks stretching from the Baltic to the East Indies. The Dutch West India Company and Dutch East India Company operated as corporate empires, managing colonies, fleets, and military operations. Stuyvesant entered the service of the Dutch West India Company as a young man. He was practical, direct, loyal to authority. By the 1640s, he was serving in the Caribbean, appointed as director of Curaçao, a strategic Dutch outpost in the southern Caribbean Sea. In Curaçao, Stuyvesant gained experience managing trade, overseeing defenses, and navigating the fragile balance between commerce and military necessity. In 1644, during an assault on the Spanish-held island of St. Martin, Stuyvesant led a Dutch attack intended to dislodge Spanish forces. The assault failed. A cannonball struck him. His right leg was shattered so badly that it had to be amputated below the knee. From that point forward, he wore a wooden prosthetic leg, often described as bound with silver bands. The injury did not end his career. If anything, it hardened him. The Dutch West India Company saw in Stuyvesant a man who combined military loyalty with administrative will. In 1647, he was appointed Director General of New Netherland. At that time, the colony was struggling. New Netherland was commercially active, but politically fragmented. Settlers complained of disorder. Relations with indigenous nations had been strained by earlier conflicts under previous leadership. The West India Company demanded profitability. The colony lacked cohesion. When Stuyvesant arrived in Manhattan in May 1647, he found a settlement that was active but unsettled. New Amsterdam was not a tidy European town. Wooden buildings clustered near the southern tip of Manhattan. The fort was functional but unimpressive. Merchants from different European backgrounds mingled in its streets. Trade with indigenous nations moved through the Hudson River corridor. Stuyvesant believed strongly in centralized authority. He believed the colony required discipline. He restructured the colonial government, expanded the council, and worked to improve fortifications. He sought to regulate trade more strictly and to reduce smuggling that undercut company profits. Many colonists valued local autonomy. They petitioned for greater representation and civic voice. Stuyvesant resisted these demands. He believed the colony's stability depended on strong executive authority backed by the West India Company. At times, his rigidity created friction. He attempted to suppress certain religious practices outside the Dutch Reformed Church. He enforced regulations firmly. He quarreled with local leaders who challenged company authority. Yet, under his administration, New Netherland expanded economically. Trade along the Hudson strengthened. Agricultural production increased in outlying settlements. The colony stabilized compared to its earlier years. Still, structural vulnerabilities remained. The Dutch West India Company did not heavily reinforce the colony militarily. The Dutch Republic was engaged in European conflicts. Resources were stretched. Colonial defense was secondary to larger geopolitical priorities. By the early 1660s, the balance of power in the Atlantic world was shifting. England, restored under Charles II in 1660, looked to consolidate its colonial holdings. The English colonies in North America were growing in population and economic capacity. Between New England and Virginia lay Dutch territory that interrupted English continuity along the coast. In 1664, Charles granted his brother, James, the Duke of York, proprietary rights to a vast tract of land that included New Netherland. England intended to take it. When English warships entered New York Harbor in August 1664, Stuyvesant faced an impossible calculation. He wanted resistance. He believed surrender without defense dishonored Dutch authority. But the fort's defenses were outdated. The garrison was small. The English fleet outgunned them. More importantly, the merchants and leading citizens of New Amsterdam did not support open war. They feared destruction of property more than change of sovereignty. The English offered generous terms. Property rights would be respected. Religious freedom would be maintained. Trade could continue. Stuyvesant initially refused to circulate the English letter of surrender among the townspeople. But the leading burghers demanded transparency. Under mounting pressure from his own council and citizens, Stuyvesant yielded. On September 8, 1664, New Amsterdam surrendered. The English renamed it New York. Stuyvesant remained briefly before returning to the Dutch Republic. He later came back to his farm north of the town he once governed. He did not die in disgrace. He lived quietly in the colony, now English, until his death in 1672. His legacy is complicated. He was neither a reckless militarist nor a passive administrator. He governed as a corporate director in an age when empire was as much about trade contracts as territory. He believed in order, in hierarchy, in discipline. He built administrative stability in a colony that might otherwise have fractured earlier. And yet, when the decisive moment came, the colony he strengthened was surrendered without battle. History remembers him as the peg-legged governor who lost New Amsterdam. But he was also the man who helped shape it into something worth taking. If you found this exploration valuable, consider subscribing to The Forces That Shaped History. History is rarely decided by a single cannon shot. More often, it turns on the balance between conviction and reality.